I didn't really play with action figures too often. I sure played with toys like Power Rangers or Transformers, but just really wasn't into action figures. G.I. Joes are definitely popular here in America, and Europe also had their own version of the G.I. Joe, and it's called Action Man. Action Man came out in the 60s over there in Europe, and it kind of was like another version of the G.I. Joe. It rivaled it, and it was very successful whenever it came out. Like any successful franchise that gets popular, there's always going to be media that comes out, and that always includes video games. Any way to possibly make money. There were some games that came out back in the day in the late 90s, early 2000s that were Action Man related, and there happened to be one on the PlayStation 1, Action Man Operation Extreme. On the surface, you probably look at it and think it's another action game, no pun intended, and yeah, you'd be right, because that's what it is. However, this game has been compared to games like Metal Gear Solid and of the like, and I did play this game, and I definitely have some things I want to talk about it that were kind of interesting about this game. So, is this game at all worth your time to check out and play? I'm here today to review Action Man Operation Extreme for the PlayStation 1.
These robots are highly dangerous. I'd better find out more about them.
Action Man Operation Extreme was developed by Blitz Games, published by Hasbro, released in 2000 in North America. Blitz Games has made a ton of games over the years, a lot of licensed stuff, but they do have some games on the PS1 and such that people definitely know. They even made Glover, which is a game that a lot of people know about, Chicken Run, and they made a crapload of Nickelodeon games on multiple platforms in the 2000s. And a lot more than that, but that's the gist. The plot is pretty corny, as you would expect from an action figure theme here going on, and basically, it's about this guy named Action Man, of course, and he's like a secret agent kind of dude, and there's an evil guy named Dr. X, and he's got all these evil minions and such helping him. Action Man has to stop these guys before they take over the world with their skullbots. And hey, get it? Dr. X? This game's called Action Man Operation Extreme, so yeah, I see what they did there. Action Man Operation Extreme is definitely a action-adventure game, but it does have different gameplay styles. So you don't just play on foot, you do have vehicle stages too. The controls in these are pretty easy. You can use the DualShock in this game if you want to, or the D-pad, either way. You can move and accelerate with the D-pad or the control stick, or hold X if you want to hit the gas too. You can hit down to reverse, and you can fire your weapons with R1 and R2. The foot stages definitely has a lot more controls going for it. Same with movement, you can use the stick. You press the triangle button to pull out your weapon, and you can attack with your gun and shoot enemies that way, or you can just punch and you just don't hit triangle. The square button is your menu, and yep, they definitely took notes from Metal Gear Solid. As a matter of fact, I think they had that game in mind when they were developing this game for sure. And the square button, you have your items on both sides of the screen, and you can toggle them that way. Your X button is to attack or fire. Circle is how you jump. You can do a big jump if you double tap circle. You only have to do that maybe a few times in the game though. You hit select to go to your mini map, and it'll expand it, and you can see all your surroundings. It's actually very nice to know where you're at because the map shows everything and your objectives. The last thing you can do is you can hold R2 and you'll go into sniper mode. And sniper mode, you can use a gun like, crossbow or sniper rifle, and you can kill enemies a little bit more close range that way. Like a lot of other action games, this game is very mission based. There's not many missions in the game, they're pretty dang long though. When you start a mission, you see a small cutscene happen, and there's some talking, and then a lot in this game, you'll have to get used to this, it will remind you of what you need to do every time you leave an area and move to the next area. The game is pretty hand-holdy with that though, so at least you'll never really forget what you're supposed to be doing, because it'll tell you every time you leave an area and enter a new one. What's going on the screen here is you got your top left meter, that's your health bar, the bottom right's your mini-map like we already said before, and your weapon on the bottom left. The vehicle missions and the foot missions are both the same in a way. The vehicle missions are very short though. You just blow some stuff up, move on to the next, and it even tells you where to go. The foot missions is definitely the meat and potatoes of this game though, because they take a while to get through. Weapon wise, you kind of have the same stuff you normally have, like a handgun and sniper rifle, crossbow, a machine gun, nothing revolutionary with that, but you get some cool gadgets, and you have a lot of different gadgets. In some sections of the game, you'll have to use an infrared lens so you can see, people around you, or if you're in a dark area. Then you'll sometimes use a gadget that hacks machines and you have to do like a button combination kind of deal here, and it's very easy, but it gives a little variety. And sometimes you'll just plant bombs on stuff, because when you're in these areas in the mission, you'll see a lot of green locations that are highlighted. That indicates that you either need some kind of code key or a passcode, or you do something with it. So that's definitely an indicator of what you need to be doing. The only pickups in this game that are not main key items are these little M circle things you pick up, and you find them in every single area, and it tells you at the top corner how many you need in the whole section. And all they do is, I guess, it heals you when you pick one up, but I don't know what happens when you pick them all up, so not too sure. Leave a comment down below if you know that. You can also pick up ammo, which you won't need that too often. I mean, your handgun's pretty much unlimited, so ammo is not something too hard to come by. Each mission in this game does feel different than the last. There's a little bit of variety involved, and each setting is different as well. It starts off in the desert, and you go into a desert base, and you'll see this guy. His name is Gangrene. He's got this evil plant toxin thing he's trying to produce, and you gotta stop it, and as well as fight Gangrene. He's a weird looking guy. The next big mission is the island base, and you infiltrate that place, go through it, and then you eventually stop this one dude who's got an airplane that you fight. The last mission takes place in the North Pole or some kind of Arctic region, and that's where Dr. X is. Each boss fight, and there's definitely a good bit of boss fights in this game, they're very, very easy, but they are sort of fun, I'd say. Definitely aimed for like a 6-year-old difficulty level, to be honest with you, but nonetheless, sometimes playing an easy game isn't all that bad. The enemy variety is pretty lacking, but it's not a big deal. I mean, a lot of the game has a lot of different game variety going on, so when you fight enemies, it's okay. You just kind of shoot a few bullets and pop them and they're dead. There are some issues with this game though when you do play it. The biggest one though to mention, to go ahead and just get it out of the way, this game has tons of loading. There is so much freaking loading in this game. Every time you enter an area, and you might even only be in it for like maybe 10 seconds, move on to the next place, you have another loading screen. It'll always tell you how many enemies you killed, all the power points you've acquired, and yeah, that's great, but geez man, every time, and it's like 10 seconds too each time. Also, your viewpoint is kind of annoying. You can't control the camera in this game whatsoever. The only way you can actually control the camera is if you hold R2 and you can look around in first person view, but even then you can't really do anything. You stand still while doing that. The viewpoint is kind of frustrating. I'll give them that though, at least the game variety is good here. Every level does feel somewhat different, and there's a lot of dialogue and a lot of voice acting. See, games like Soul the Samurai, this game is great, but there's no voice acting. I don't understand that. Konami has a lot of money and they can easily do this. So if this game can do it, why can't that? So I do appreciate touches like that. Action Man Operation Extreme definitely took me by surprise because I honestly thought this game was going to suck, but as I played through it, it's not honestly that bad. Yeah, it's not the best game ever, I mean clearly, but it has a pretty good amount of game variety. The levels can be fun. Yeah, the loading is kind of annoying and the viewpoint is also not that great. Plus, there's not really a lot of music. You'll hear a lot of the same music a lot too. Want to point that out as well. But the game overall, it is cool and fun. And the controls feel good, the level design's decent, and the boss fights, they're easy, the enemies are easy. The game is still fun and definitely good for anyone who really likes action games. It's not going to win any awards. I mean, yeah, they definitely took a lot from Metal Gear Solid. I mean, a lot of influence from that game. But nonetheless, if you've played all the action games possible on the PS1 and you skipped over this one somehow, well, definitely check this one out. I do think it's somewhat decent. To my recollection, I don't think there's any other way to play this game except for the PS1. If there is, definitely leave a comment below. I couldn't look up anything or any info on that, but it doesn't matter. The game's only about $8 complete in box, which is very, very cheap, so that's a very good way to play a game with somewhat decent quality on the system. Also, if you just have to get more action, man, there's another game on the Game Boy Color. So I haven't looked into that one, and I love the Game Boy Color, and I do want to talk about Game Boy Color games someday. But yeah, just wanted to mention that in case anyone was curious. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this kind of content, be sure to give it a like. You got something to say? Leave a comment down below. And of course, you want to see more content like this in the future, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.